Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks, where we meet with the top thought leaders and strategists in emerging technologies, digital assets, a regulatory landscape, and capital markets. This segment is presented by Charles Schwab. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, and joining us this afternoon, we have JP Castellanos, Director of Threat Intelligence at Binary Defense, Carlos Perez, Director of Security Intelligence at TrustedSec, and Dave Chronister, CEO of Perimeter Security. We're here to discuss Crimeware-as-a-Service 2.0 and how AI is changing the underground cybercrime economy. Certainly a lot to unpack here. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. JP, let's kick this off with you. AI, it's becoming almost a force multiplier within the cybercrime space.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jill. AI is not just helping defenders, it's also supercharging attackers. So what we're starting to see is an acceleration of capability where AI is now pretty much an integral part of nearly every phase of an attack lifecycle. So when we're talking about from reconnaissance to actual payload development, and what used to take days of manual effort for any kind of researcher or hacker, it now could be automated in about minutes. And what we're also seeing is a democratization of cybercrime, where we're seeing generative AI tools have lowered the skill barrier. See, back then in our field, we would consider low-level hackers known as script kiddies, but now with AI, it's making even lower tier threat actors can now deploy sophisticated malware. They can craft some phishing lures. They can mimic executive voices and deepfakes. And then we're also seeing nation-state adaptation. We're seeing countries like China, Iran, North Korea. They're all operationalizing AI in espionage, disinformation, and access operations. So this is a real world threat. It's not just theoretical. And we're actively tracking these campaigns that are using AI to script code, evade detection, and craft social engineering messages and more.
Yeah, and Carlos, it seems as if AI is really the great equalizer in cybercrime.
It has been. We have been working several cases, especially around the area of business email compromise, where as we're doing the incident response and we're doing the forensic investigation, and we find all of the different emails that the actor used as lures to convince payers to change bank accounts, to make payments to other places that they control. One of the things that we've noticed is that they have extracted all of the different emails from that user, and very quickly, in a matter of hours, they are already mimicking the same style of wording. Documents have the same logos, and they're extracting that from PDF. And we can quickly tell that they have been using AI to be able to move at that speed and also at that precision of impersonating the victim.
Yeah. And Dave, going back to the super script kiddies for a moment here, I mean, they technically don't have deep skills within the space, but they still can cause a lot of damage.
Absolutely. Again, kind of what JP was talking about, the tools out there are amazing. We talk about SaaS products all the time. In corporate America, there are SaaS products out there right now, products like Worm GPT. You pay $200 a month, and then you go in and you figure out who your target is. Just as Carlos was talking about, it will actually go do the research, try to find the languages they're using, and then craft the emails, craft different sort of scripts that you could even put into generative video to be able to push these out. And you don't have to worry about accents anymore. You don't have to worry about where it's coming from. And you don't have to worry about coding skill sets. Anybody can do it.
Yeah, you know what? One thing that stuck out to me, JP, in your notes was Crimeware-as-a-Service 2.0. I mean, that's the first time I've heard this as a service. It just seems to be it's ubiquitous within cybercrime.
Yeah, exactly what Dave mentioned about Worm GPT. There are other GPT-like programs and tools out there that are on the dark web. Another one is known as Fraud GPT. There's also the Know Your Customer as a Service tools where, in case Know Your Customer as a Service is kind of something that's been adopted in financials, where anytime you're trying to apply for any kind of credit card or any kind of financial services, you have to show your ID and a picture ID. A lot of times these apps are also on your phone, so they want you to actually scan your phone. Well, threat actors are also leveraging these Know as Your Customer Services deepfakes to basically create fake IDs and fake account and fake pictures using sources like GANs, which basically are it's an AI image of a person that really doesn't exist, and they use these to leverage to create accounts. You also have deepfake tools like Deep Live Cam and Swamp Cam, and these are AI tools that are marketed to spoof recognition as well. And then there's also the sales and sophistication. What we're seeing inside the dark web as well is what what I would consider an AI supply chain, where this includes threat actors and hackers on the dark web that are looking for specialized developers, trainers, and even resellers that are offering like plug and play models for fraud, impersonation, and reconnaissance using these tools.
Yeah, Carlos, it sounds as if the fusion between nation states and criminals, those lines are getting really blurred.
Yes, they are. In fact, one of the things that we have been seeing is that state actors like China, Russia, and others, what they're doing is that they're simply outsourcing a lot of this. We have seen out there, especially given that China has been in the AI game a lot longer than many others, and they have a more structured plan and approach as it relates to its implementation. We have been seeing, especially in the area of post-exploitation, once they get in, how fast can they make decisions in that target environment so they can do a lot of movement, move from one computer to another, extraction of documents, and just learn from all of that and feed it back into their systems. So low-level operators, contractors can actually be a lot faster, a lot more efficient in their attacks.
David, who and what are they attacking? Who are the targets?
When we're talking social engineering, the elderly are a major target, billions of losses with them. But, we also have other types of attacks happening using AI, something like DDoSing. And, these are then attacking larger organizations. The largest attack that's ever happened, 11.5 terabytes of data going in, will take down any company that you have there. Pretty much it's anybody that will pay what they are wanting you to pay for, either extortion, for turning on your internet connection back, turning off that DDoS, are who their targets are. And I think it really comes down to who the attacker is to who the target is.
Yeah, I mean, David, not even that. These things can move markets. They could be, catalysts to geopolitical issues by the time you figure out what it is, right? Is it real?
Yeah.
Is it not? And what's the source of it? Some of the damage is already done.
Disinformation is happening all the time, and you can make it look real. If you have a country's prime minister that is released a video that then maybe doing something nefarious or making some sort of statement, again, knee-jerk reactions by everybody can cause some damage to happen before it's even validated.
Yeah. So what's the issue here, JP? Is it because the bad actors can just move quicker than the good actors? What's the holdup here, in other words?
I think, personally speaking, and the audience can also question this, I think it's just a matter of just misinformation these days. The lines have backed so much right now that you're questioning everything you see. With the initial with Sora that just released not a few weeks ago, I can see threat actors using Sora all day for creating so many malicious types of deepfake attacks going on. And these are not going to just target the elderly, but I think these will target politicians. These will target major players of industry if they haven't been targeted already. This will be focused on them as well. And I think that's the problem right now, is that we have to, as a society, we really have to question what we see nowadays online, especially specifically now with the rise of AI.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Carlos, what keeps me up is critical infrastructure. I mean, clearly that's a prime target.
Yes, it actually is. And one of the things that happens is that now the attacker doesn't have to have a very deep level of knowledge into the different IC systems, SCADA systems that they're targeting. The AI will have that knowledge and is able to just guide them through the steps, guide them in the development of tooling, guide them in how to prepare those lures and where to move next to have the most impact for their given mission.
Yeah. David, let's talk about the risk within the crypto ecosystem.
Yeah, you have different attacks that can happen, and it kind of all goes back to what Carlos and JP have talked about. I don't necessarily need to know how the crypto works to be able to attack it at this point. Doing 51% attacks, being able to control some of these miners to be able to inject nefarious data into the fabric. It does it for me. And again, there are dark web SaaS solutions to accomplish this. And then we get into the social engineering to be able to steal your crypto wallets. And we're seeing quite a bit of that. A lot of them going after some of the larger crypto companies out there as well to steal, crypto from wallets on a mass scale.
Yeah. Well, David, what about for the everyday person such as myself and the Internet of Things? I mean, we're connected virtually with every device, whether it's in the home, whether it's anywhere, your phone's working remotely, your Ring app, right? So what's the average person supposed to do who's not experts like the three of you?
Well, and it's tough even for us experts. We have family members that are plugging things in, and it creates a connection into your environment. It creates a device on the internet. And a good friend of mine, John Matherly, has created a search platform that I could actually look for all the Ring devices there. And if I know that there's some sort of exploit, I can now use that to attack other people. So essentially, your IoT device might not necessarily make you less secure, but it could make other people less secure. And one of the problems we see is all technology has a lifespan. And there's a certain point the vendors will stop updating it. But unfortunately, a lot of people and some organizations will say, if it's working for me, why take it off? And so those vulnerabilities stay up there and they become weapons.
Yeah, JP, this sounds to me almost like spy versus spy, or let's call it AI versus AI. It's a game of 4D chess.
It is. AI, I would say, is the new arms race right now that's going on. And to carry on Dave's comments, with IoT devices, AI is also being used to basically create vulnerabilities or exploit vulnerabilities. If I'm not mistaken, there was research done by I believe it was Carnegie Mellon, where they just took some vulnerabilities that are out there and then they just threw it on AI, and AI was able to either discover 0-day vulnerabilities or 1-day vulnerabilities way faster than what a researcher can do. So that's just another issue that we're going to have with AI. Like I said, it's an arms race, and it's right now we're just kind of like in the forefront of it right now.
Right. So, Carlos, what it sounds like to me, from the enterprise perspective, when you're thinking about offense and defense, every single thing that you model out has to have a cyber first mentality.
Yes, it does. And one of the things that we also have to consider is that a lot of companies are moving sometimes way too fast with AI.
Yep.
We have had cases where customers have fired part of their SOC, replaced that with AI products. And then when we get called in to do an investigation and we're going through the entire process of incident response, the AI has a hallucination, has us running down a bunny trail for an hour or so until one of the analysts just simply goes and tells it, give me the raw logs. And the AI very politely comes back to you and says, oh, I'm sorry, I was mistaken. And then you get frustrated for running for 1 hour with it. But at the same time, it is improving. It's getting faster. It is iterating and improving at a speed that we have not seen before with other technology, I would say.
It's almost like it's self-inflicted wounds in a way, right? Let's just call it, late 2022, when generative AI became part of everyone's vernacular. There was this race in a competitive landscape, and I understand that, whether it's internal or external facing products, to get some sort of AI solution, whether the problem existed or not, out there. And I think now we're starting to see those gaps and those vulnerabilities exposed.
And we're also seeing it when it comes to just regular implementation of code. People are using AI, introducing some vulnerabilities that have been addressed before. There's a lot of, I think they call it sludge or slack, that comes from writing all of your code with AI that has been causing a lot of problems. In fact, now we have the problem that when we're overusing it, we're not aware of all of the different decisions that it actually made. We're not aware, or we don't have situational awareness on how they set up that infrastructure for us. And that is going to, in the long run, cause a lot of problems as we move forward.
Right. And David, I think part of the issue is, too, it's not as if there was malintent, but if you're trying out, new types of AI tools and so forth, inadvertently, what if some confidential data gets in there, or, something enters your system and you're unaware of it?
Yeah, I think having your regulated information, your sensitive information, your company's secrets going into AI and commingling in training, or when they say, well, we're not going to train, are you sure that it's actually happening that way, is dangerous. But, to go back to what Carlos was saying, I'm a CEO. I deal with a lot of business owners, and there is almost a peer pressure on how much AI can you implement
Yep.
into your company. I have a board of advisors, and these are very smart people, all CEOs, and they're like, Dave, why are you not implementing AI? I go, the problem is as a security company, if I am bleeding edge, I am risking it for everyone. And organizations and CEOs a lot of times are risk takers and don't think about the security implications. Going back to the outage we had with a company earlier this year, there's questions now on a lot of their DevOps were replaced with AI, and now all of a sudden, one of the biggest outages we've seen in recent history has happened. Is there going to be a point where companies step back and go, what happens when things don't work?
Yeah, and I think that's an excellent point that you bring up and that you're advocating that to the board. And I think even if we broaden out the conversation to what CISOs are dealing with and being able to get that buy-in from the C-suite, from the board, all the business units, remove those silos. I think being a cyber-first culture as an enterprise is going to be the competitive advantage, right? Because if you do have an outage, if you do have an incident, you're not going to be around. No one's going to want to do business with you.
Yeah, and I think everybody is just so worn out with breaches, with companies having outages, and the whole mindset of InfoSec or your cybersecurity department is the department of no. They really need to reframe it. And like you said, we're cyber first. We don't anticipate an outage. We don't anticipate problems, but we want to be prepared when this happens. And we need to look at not only the good features of AI, but we also have to look at what happens when it goes wrong. Hallucinations and incorrect information is skyrocketing with AI, and it may not be bad if you're setting up internal marketing pieces, but when this is your SOC, or this is something that is dealing with your base level code, that becomes a major red flag.
Yeah, it certainly does. And JP, I think this is why you should also have a proactive stance with it. Cybersecurity isn't something that you set and forget.
Correct. I would say one of the things you would want to have when dealing with AI is what I would call a human in the loop, where you are questioning it, right? You don't, and I mean, if you're using any kind of AI, it tells you in the bottom that AI can make mistakes. There is a disclaimer. So we should really take that into account whenever we're asking AI to generate things for us. We need to question it, because if we don't, and we just completely believe in it all the way, this is where you're going to have problems where the AI just doesn't do what it's supposed to do, or basically gets corrupted. Another threat that I am also looking into a bit more is organizations that are fully adapted at AI. The possibility of an adversary getting into that LLM and getting to that AI, and then working as an insider in that AI platform and manipulating it to its advantage. That's another threat that we're starting to see being talked about on the underground.
Yeah, and Carlos, to wrap up here, I would imagine with agentic AI being incorporated, at a rapid rate as well, that just, adds to the complexity of this.
Yes, it does. In fact, we can see it right now just in the job postings. We are seeing job postings where they're looking for developers to fix byte coding, to clean the code that was generated by AI. So as we are seeing a lot of people just use agents to write the code, that means a lot of more code is being generated by the AI, a lot more places that we need to check. And now we're seeing that we're hiring more coders back that were previously fired just to fix the code that AI generated. But at the same time, companies see it as a cost value proposition, where they see, I'm going through these costs of hiring some developers to fix this, but at the same time, I'm pushing out code faster. But there's not a very good measure when it comes to the risks that are involved. It's one of the things that I have seen. Until it doesn't blow up in somebody's face and they don't encounter a big problem, a lot of stuff is not being addressed at this moment.
All right. Appreciate all of your insights. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.